But what can you delegate? Can you get a virtual assistant? Can you get a 1099 bookkeeper? Can you get somebody that takes that mental load off of you so you don't have to be in the thick of it anymore?
Ever feel like you're in a constant competition between your career and your husband's patience? Your kids think you work too hard, but hey, you're doing it all for them, right? The struggle is real, and I've been there too. Moments of feeling like a crappy mom and wife because once again, your kids had breakfast on their way to school, and you've got more important things on your plate than cooking and cleaning. Hey there, working moms who are juggling a million things and still wondering if you're doing it right. I'm Veronica Cisneros, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, a mama of 3, and married for 24 years. Welcome to the Empowered and Unapologetic podcast, where we dive deep into the messy, chaotic, and sometimes hilarious world of mastering motherhood, marriage, and business. I get it. Balancing it all was never the goal, but here we are trying anyway. I'm here to share my journey and guide you through yours. No more apologies for being driven, and definitely no compromises on your dreams. Together, we'll navigate the challenges of being a powerhouse in both business and family life. Join me as we tackle the uncomfortable conversations from being the breadwinner to changing the rules of what a marriage looks like. Let's figure out how to parent in a working parent household without the constant arguments or guilt. I'm Veronica Cisneros, and this is Empowered and Unapologetic, where we embrace the chaos, challenge the norms, and strive to live life on our own terms. Get ready for some real talk, actionable tips, and a few laughs along the way. Welcome back to another episode of the Empowered and Unapologetic podcast. Today's episode is for every high-achieving woman who is struggling with motherhood, marriage, as well as their own career, while silently struggling with overwhelm, burnout, and the weight of running a business. Our guest, Lindsey Paulson, is the CEO of LP Consulting and the host of the Mess to Mission podcast. She helps small businesses and nonprofits implement strategy, streamline operations, and create sustainable systems so that CEOs can stop drowning in the day-to-day and start leading with clarity and confidence. But Lindsay's work goes beyond operations. She is deeply committed to prioritizing mental health for entrepreneurs. After navigating multiple miscarriages, addiction, abuse, and mental health challenges, she knows firsthand how easy it is to lose yourself in the hustle. Today, Lindsay is here to teach us how to automate, delegate, and elevate your business so you're not doing it all alone. Prioritize mental health while growing a company and managing life's responsibilities. Create systems that support your success without leading to burnout. Shift from mess to mission, turning life's hardest season into a purpose-driven business. Plus, Lindsay has an exclusive challenge for our listeners to help you implement what we talk about today. Lindsay, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited. And I crack up at that intro because I'm like, I'm hyping myself up a lot here.
You're
So
like, who is
I
this
hope
lady? Who is
I
she?
know. Are we talking about me? Like, I hope to not disappoint because it sounds so good when you write it out and then it's like, oof, okay, I got a lot to live up to today, but I'm ready.
Well, Lindsay, I appreciate you joining us, especially. So, ladies, she's literally in the middle of a tornado warning, and she's here,
Yeah.
and she's
Yeah.
here with us.
Yes, that is Kentucky weather for you. You
Mm-hmm.
don't know if it's going to rain, snow. We had snow 2 days ago. It was like 70 the day before that, and today it's tornado. So, you just
That
kind of
is
get used to it and
crazy.
pivot. And I think you're in California, right? Where it's like sunny and probably 80 degrees out
Yeah,
there.
well, it's so we're spoiled. Right now, there's a little bit of overcast, and I'm like, really? And I have the AC on to 75. Like,
Oh my
I know, we're
gosh.
so
I'm
spoiled.
so jealous.
We're so spoiled, but the sun is
So jealous.
out.
Yes. Yes.
So
I'm so jealous.
thank you so much for joining us. I was on the minute we came on, I was like, wait a minute, you look so familiar. Like I know you.
Yes.
So Lindsay was like, yeah, you're on my podcast. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Yes.
All right. So Lindsay, so many of our listeners are juggling a million things at once. Business, family,
Hmm.
relationships, self-care. Well, really a lack thereof. How do we know
Yes.
when we've hit the tipping point of doing too much? Like, how did you know?
So my whole reality is so funny because I tell people all the time when I knew I hit the tipping point was when everything I just lost joy. And that's a big thing of why I started really advocating too for mental health is I lost joy. I didn't want to work on my business. I was kind of like drained
Yeah.
emotionally by it. Um, I didn't want to go to the gym. I always tell my husband pokes at me because he's like, I know that if your hair starts going up into a clip every single day and there is no hair brushing, there is no like getting ready to get out the door. He's like, we've hit a point. Like, we've hit a point of no return. And I stopped taking care of myself.
Yeah.
I stopped pouring into myself when that's what I needed the most to fuel my ideation, my creation, spending time growing and developing systems, processes, procedures, and showing up for my clients.
Yeah.
And when I stopped loving that, that's how I knew I had too many irons in the fire and I really needed to dial back and focus on setting more boundaries of what was making me happy, what was giving me joy, what was allowing me to wake up and feel excited about during the day.
Yeah.
And we have 3 kids as well. So we juggle 2 businesses, travel, soccer, the whole nine. And we work really well together communication style wise, which is all great. But I was the problem, and I can say it like I was the problem with adding on all of these things that I was super passionate about. I was like, well, I can love this and I love this and I want to do all of these things entrepreneur wise, but I was drowning myself.
Yeah.
I think the biggest sign is when you stop loving it and when you stop finding joy, you've got too much going on. And really, or the hard truth about some of it too is it can be a lot of time mismanagement.
Yeah.
Um, I found myself kind of having to redirect, like, oh, I really wanted to read this book about X, Y, and Z. Well, did I read the book? No, I spent 45 minutes watching TikToks about comedians
Yeah.
or something else that
Yeah.
wasn't serving
Totally
me
relate. Mm-hmm.
in that, yeah, in that season. And although I do love a good TikTok comedian, well, I could have spent that time doing the task that I know would have better served me better. So I really had to sit back and kind of take all of my schedules and make essentially like a time audit and see what I needed to cut. How was I going to serve the community the best way that I knew how to, and piece that together with my schedule, my husband's schedule,
Yep.
and build the puzzle more efficiently.
Yeah. I know for me, a definite key indicator is when I am just numbing out and going through the TikTok videos and realizing, like, wait a minute, I started at like 9 and it's like 11 or 12. It's like, okay,
Hmm.
hold on. What am I attempting to avoid? What am I avoiding? And why? And why does it make sense that numbing and staying on TikTok is better for me than actually addressing whatever my self-care needs are, you know?
Yep. So I read the book Eat the Frog, and it was always like
Oh,
if
I've
you
heard of that
just,
book. Is it
yeah,
good?
yeah, so if you just eat the frog, it's like the whole rip the Band-Aid off theory. Like you're pulling it back gently or it's keeping you up at night. This part of your business or this part of your life or that hard conversation or something that you're avoiding is keeping you up at night. But instead of just ripping the Band-Aid off or having the hard conversation, it's like we'd rather stew on it and let it like consume us or stress us out. And a lot of times that can be with like team management or that one task that you're absolutely dreading. Like, you have to go into your website and do something with SEO or somebody sent you this email that you don't know that you're in the mood to respond to. So it can be different things for everybody, but instead of just eating the frog and taking the bandit off moving forward, we tend as humans to sometimes retract or
Yeah.
let it constantly consume our thoughts or constantly give us an anxiety instead of handling it head on or communicating head on
Mhm.
and being able to push past it and push forward. So that was a really good book for me because it's like, I don't want to do this part of my business. I hate scheduling social media. But then when I schedule it for 2 weeks, I don't have to think about it for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Rip the Band-Aid off, block out an hour to do it, get it done, and then it's 2 weeks of peace and freedom that everything is
Mm-hmm.
rapidly rolling and scheduled out. But
Yeah.
instead, I would just wait until like the very last minute. I would have no plan for this part of my business, and I would just be like, "Gosh, I haven't posted," or da 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 da,
Yeah.
which seems silly. It's like do the prep work in the front, take an hour and a half, and then 2 weeks you don't even have to
Mm-hmm.
let it
Think about it.
consume you or mind boggle you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You've gone through multiple miscarriages, addiction, and mental health struggles, all while building a business. How did those experiences shape how you operate today?
Oh gosh. I think if anything, that is one of the reasons that I am such an advocate for therapy. So kind of piecemealing all of this together. So the 5 miscarriages have been spread out pretty much within like the last 2 or 3 years, but all still in the depths of trying to grow and build something. Um, when you're in that grief stage, it is so consuming. It can be like crippling, and you have to process and figure out how to way to get to the other side. Your kids do not, they might not understand that you're grieving. They might not care that you're grieving. They still want a snack. They still want to do all of these things. And you're going through literally the depths of hell, for lack of a better term, of body changes, hormone changes, especially as a woman, you're pregnant, you're not pregnant. If you have a DNC or you take these medications, they all hormonally impact you.
Yeah.
None of that is conclusive to or indicative of running a healthy business because you're not in a good spot. You're
Yeah.
just not. I had a couple of networking events that I had planned on. I hadn't really told anyone I was pregnant for the last one. Was super excited about them. Had my miscarriage. The date rolled around, didn't do them. I had all this prep work and excitement, but I was just so in the depths of it that if somebody would have looked at me sideways, I would just burst into
Yeah.
tears.
Yeah.
So I really had to work through countless hours of therapy and shifting my business in a season.
Yep.
As far as the addiction goes, so specifically that wasn't addiction I struggled with. I was helping manage other people's addictions, which can also be draining when you are trying to help be the caregiver for somebody or
Yeah.
um, the hardback or the person that's going to lift up that person and navigate them through that season. That is time consuming. You're constantly worrying about their safety. You're constantly worrying about their finances or if they're making good decisions, if they're going to end up dead, if they're going to make a choice that can inevitably lead them down a bad path.
Yeah.
So that takes up time and consumption where you could probably be working on a business, but now it's like having an additional adult that you're babysitting.
Mm-hmm.
Even harder when it's a family member. But all of these things, they don't wait for anybody and they're not prejudiced for anybody.
No.
So it could happen to you, it could happen to me. Miscarriage is also a lot more prominent. One solution that I did find that actually kind of saved me in my business was I do my annual plan and my quarter plan at the very beginning of every year. And if I don't have it quite nailed down, I still review it every quarter.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's seasons. And
Yep.
sometimes you have to shift the plan of what you're going to launch, bring to the table, teach, preach, sell, work. I mean, it all has to be able to pivot because you could experience a death in the family and not have that set up for success. So having my quarterly and annual plans of what I wanted to do in my business, how I wanted it to grow, how I wanted it to scale, it was just a matter again of finding the pieces of the puzzle and repivoting them to what was going to make sense in that time now that I didn't have a lot of time to go out and network and be in my community because I was so like just falling apart.
Yeah.
But that was the time that I could do the interior work. I
Yep.
could sit on my computer. I could get the emails. I could build the SOPs that I had needed to build out. So really thinking it of not what is it grief and trauma taking away from me, but like what in this season can I focus on while I'm coping through this?
Yeah.
You might not want to go out and shake everybody's hand. You might not want to go out and meet this new client when you're falling apart and barely can hold yourself together. Those things can wait, and it's more important to me, and I find it's more important to your client that when you're showing up as your best self, it's because you took the time to prioritize this client I can meet them on this in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
This happened. Most people I feel like are very human in that they understand that things happen and you might have to reschedule and pivot, but really, really listening to your intuition and needs as you go through kind of all of these hard things and not forcing yourself or guilting yourself to take on more workload than you can actually physically and emotionally bear.
I appreciate you mentioning, really diving into what your goals are for the year. You also mentioned, like, identifying what you're going to launch and doing that every quarter. You've created the ADE method: automate, delegate,
Mhm.
elevate, to help CEOs get out of the weeds. Can you break this down for us? So, ladies, this is where I want you to grab a pen and paper because she's totally going to teach us right now. Can you break this down? Can you give us kind of like an example of one of your, maybe a student that you or a client that you consulted? So, give us the scenario and then also break down the ADE method.
Absolutely. So I like nerd out over this. So this is my favorite bread and butter. So A obviously stands for automate, like she had mentioned. So these are the tasks that you are repetitively doing. You you might love them, you might not, but you are doing these tasks over and over and over and over, and they are time suck, inevitably a time
Yeah.
suck. So for example, I have a personal trainer client that I am working with. She's got to collect all these forms, all these HIPAA forms, all of these things. And they were going out in emails. The client might or might not read them. She might or might not, they might not fill them back. Half of people can't log into Adobe. Nobody knows how to sign a DocuSign anymore. Like there's generational issues. It's a disaster. So what it really came down to was automating her onboarding process for that new client. So she now gets a new inquiry form from her website. It flows into it's just a workflow essentially. So it's basically a back end of a system that's going to do the work for you. That
Mm-hmm.
client receives all the onboarding forms. They can't pass go. They can't go to the next section until they have completed, all digitized. So they can do it from their phone.
Anywhere.
It removes, yeah, anywhere. It removes all those boundaries. They can fill all of those things out and hit submit. Then it takes them to the next part. That's when they can view the calendar, book a time slot that's convenient for them. You're not having to say, "Are you free on the fourth Wednesday of the 10th month of da 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 da?"
Yeah.
Nope, the calendar is there to book. Then you're moving into all your health forms. Those forms then are automatically integrating into a folder. You don't have to look for them, find them, file them. It's built into the process. So new hire training, onboarding a new client. There's so many workflows that you can do. If you're training the same team members time and time again on these countless softwares, products, any of that, make it automated.
Yep.
So you hand them this and you say, "Hey, here's what I want you to learn. Here's a video, here's a guide," being very sensitive to some people are auditory learners, some people are visual learners, some people are paper and pen people, some people don't want to deal with paper and pen. They want to do it all. So give them all the options, but create it on such a system that you don't have to worry about it as the CEO.
Yep.
And you're getting everything signed and documented. So to cover you as a business owner, if Susie Q comes back and says, "Well, I was never taught that." Well, on this day at this time, you said that you understood this process, you were fully integrated, no questions were asked at that time. So tell me where the breakdown is. Or if Susie Q keeps missing this task over and over and over, maybe Susie Q is not the best team member for you.
Yeah.
Maybe that's somebody that is better suited in a different role or better suited in a different department, division. But having all of these things set up takes away so much of that back and forth and gives you that time freedom back. Bookkeeping, getting the appropriate cost codes, and you can even use different AI systems to recognize in QuickBooks what codes your costs have
Yep.
to go to. Let the internet and technology do the work for you. So that way you can go be the personal trainer. You can go be the CEO. You can be the forward thinker, not the person that is knee deep in the emails. That's an email management is a huge one. There's so many softwares that can help you.
I know looking for the right therapist can be challenging. However, feeling overwhelmed and disconnected is even harder. Life is filled with several twists and turns. some more severe than others. We do our best to handle them as they come and find ourselves at a loss, not knowing what to do or who to turn to. The clinicians here at Outside the Norm Counseling are here to help. We are here to assist you through this time of need. Together, we will identify your strengths and goals and teach you healthy coping skills. Together, we will develop a plan to help you live the life you want to live. Our team is compassionate, genuine, and we take a great deal of pride in providing an empathetic, non-judgmental approach to all of our clients. It's time. You've waited long enough, whether it be for you, your child, or if you're in need of a couple session. We are highly trained clinicians ready to guide you. Schedule an appointment now by calling 951-395-3288. Again, that number is 951-395-3288. We're looking forward to meeting you and being a part of your journey.
So how would someone automate? How would somebody, so let's say, what do you see a good amount of your clients struggle with automating?
I think the employee process is probably the most, like training a new employee. That's probably the most, because most of the time as CEOs, they take one person. So you, Veronica, you're going to train Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you, Lindsay, you're going to train George. Well, the way that I train and the way you train
Totally
are completely different. George could he learns completely different. So that's where it comes into play, that you have to know the team member that you're training and know their strengths and weaknesses, but also there has to be some systems and streamlining to that process, to that automation.
Yeah.
As CEOs, another thing that I get really excited about, especially if you're Gmail based, there's so many email managements that will help you.
So many Google Docs.
Yeah. Well, and then there's my favorite tool of all time. If you don't have it, I will go to the grave. Boomerang is my favorite Gmail integration of all time. So it is it's a constant follow-up reminder. So if you have Gary who is 800 emails deep, and Gary might miss your email intentionally, unintentionally, doesn't matter. If you click Boomerang on his email, it will come back in 2 days and say, hey, Gary hasn't responded to you. Are you still waiting on a response from him?
Oh.
That can prompt you to go back and say,
I like that.
Hey, Gary, just, making sure you don't need anything else from me.
Gary, are you alive? Are you alive, Gary?
I hate to say hey, circling back, because that's like a trauma corporate response, but also Gary could be in the weeds. Gary could be unwell. Gary could need a wellness check. We don't know.
Somebody check on Gary for us.
Yeah. Can somebody go make sure that he's breathing? But also you get to release that inner note, that inner thought of, I need to follow up with this person, this person, this person, this person next week, because this tool does it for you. It will help it turns your Google Calendar into a Calendly.
Yes.
Show them what times are open on my calendar. And it's free. It is free.
I love it.
If you don't have Boomerang, that's my favorite thing of all time. And then I also am a big fan of delegation. So that D being the delegation word. What is your gift? If you or I, and my gift is operations systems, tech stack, I love it. I don't want to be a bookkeeper. I have no desire to be a CPA. I'm going to outsource and delegate that to X, Y, and Z to take off that mental load for me. If sitting down and cost coding your books every week causes you 2 hours of stress,
delegate it.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel very strongly about that for your overall household too. I am not home enough to deep clean my house every 2 weeks. So I am blessed that every 2 weeks I have a cleaner that comes and I delegate all the deep cleaning to her, because I just don't, well, one, I don't want to live in filth, but two, I don't want to take the time, the patience, the energy to clean. And she goes through my kids' clothes and switches out sizes. She's an angel.
Yeah.
But what can you delegate? Can you get a virtual assistant? Can you get a 1099 bookkeeper? Can you get somebody that takes that mental load off of you so you don't have to be in the thick of it anymore? There's so many virtual assistants and things like that, but I think people are afraid.
People are so afraid of letting the task go. And in order, I never believed it, but truly, in order for you to grow in your business, You have to delegate and train your employees or your team to go ahead and get the work, do the work, because they're a representation, a reflection of your business. Yeah.
Yes. But also, if you automate the process, you don't have to continue
No.
to take the time to train the VA.
Nope.
The VA takes the forms, puts them wherever they need to go, responds to the podcast, however that needs to be set up.
Yeah.
They can take the automation and play it to their favor. And then in return, all that does is elevate your business. You're organized, you're ready to go. You know where the files are, you know how the process is going to play out. Your fail safes are in place, so you're not having to go down a rabbit hole that you don't want to go down. But I mean, there's so many tools out there. Like, I'm a huge ClickUp fan. I have all my templates and all my forms built in ClickUp. I can use that to communicate to a VA. I can use that to keep my task and timeline in order, on progress, however you so see fit.
Yeah.
But there's 100 of those platforms that are available for business owners to take all the floating pieces and put them in one spot. But it's just really knowing what's out there and how it can best serve you as a business owner and a mom. Like, I am a super nerd when it comes to even home life. Like, I have emails I go through and I pick all the like the meals that I want to make for the family each week. That syncs over to my Instacart, and then I just send my groceries to my house. I don't know if anybody's tried to go to the grocery store for like with 3 kids, but it's
Nope.
like an astronomical amount of time when you're having to fight over like Spider-Man gummies. I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm picking the meals, put in the Instacart, they show up at the house. It takes me maybe 30 minutes to pick out everything, dump it, and bring it to my house.
Done.
I mean, it's just knowing life hacks, as I call them, but also feeling confident that it's not being lazy.
No.
I would rather spend that time. I have no guilt behind it. I would rather spend that time being with my son rather than wrangling him through the grocery store.
Well, and
or I could take them to
yeah.
the park and I could do all these extra things. I could take my time, which I do for self-care. I could go to the gym. Groceries are handled.
Yeah.
Those are coming regardless. Go to the gym. It's all done. When I come back home, take the groceries inside and put them in the fridge or the freezer or whatever. So
Yep.
you have time. It's just how you spend rearranging it and piecing it together.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I didn't realize how frustrated and overwhelmed I was until I did what you just shared. I remember Yolanda and her 2 Live crew. That's what I call my cleaning lady. She's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, she came over and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to clean up before she comes. Me and the kids are just
Yeah.
going to leave. And the time it would have taken me to clean up the house, yell at the kids, do the whole thing, I'm going to go ahead and just go to the park and we're going to have a picnic. And literally came back to a clean house. And I realized, holy crap, this entire time, you know, I could have spent this intentional time with my kids instead of forcing them to clean up their rooms, take off strip their sheets. Mom, are you sure? I didn't even sleep under the blankets. Take off the damn sheets, right? It would be a whole thing. And it was
Yes.
like, gosh, how was I really showing up as a mom?
Mm-hmm. I've gotten to the point too where like I have worked with my cleaner. She cracks me up because I'm like, okay, these are the days that I'm going on vacation. Can I pre-book you for the day before I get back?
Yep.
Even going on trips,
all the time.
work trips. Coming home to a clean house with all the laundry done, all the dishes done after a work trip or a vacation, it's life-changing.
Yeah.
Because you've traveled, you're miserable. You've probably gotten into a fight with an airline. Like, it's just not really great out there in the travel industry. So having those systems and really thinking ahead, it just serves you better in that current moment because you've got it handled in all facets.
What would you say are the top 3 operational mistakes business owners make that keep them stuck in survival mode?
Well, we kind of touched on one of them. The first one is the control factor.
Yep.
A lot of people really feel, and I don't think it's intentional by any means, but they feel I can do this the best. I know my brand the best. I don't want anyone to be in my files, be in my finances, and they hold it so close to their heart to where now it's growing and scaling and they're afraid to ask for help, or
Yeah.
they don't know which direction to start, or it's the infamous they are so buried now. Like they
Yeah.
are so buried in emails and things, and it's like, how do I dig myself out of a hole
Yep.
that I have caused? That's probably the first. The second is waiting too long to get their hands in finances and get their
Yes.
finances organized. You can have a pricing strategy, you can have all the things in the world, but if you're not in your numbers, it doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't matter. And one of the things that I do is essentially like a financial audit, and we go through your books. Well, a lot of that requires setting up the system, but we'll go down like their charges and their expenses, and they're like, "Oh, well, I didn't even know I paid for that. I didn't even know I paid for that," and it adds up.
Yep.
It's free trials they don't cancel, things that they sign up for, things that marketing that they're still paying into. That it's like, okay, well, had we gotten in our numbers a little bit sooner, you could have saved yourself $6,000 last year.
Yep.
Where could you have put that $6,000 in? Or, and then the last is probably having just SOPs in general, especially when growing their team. So there's no standard or business standard for them to hold their teammates accountable to. So I used to help and assist in a construction company. Well, they had company vehicles. You have to tell them straight up, I don't want you smoking. I don't want you
Yeah.
to do this. Like, these rules need to be clear and fine. Common sense is not always so common anymore.
No.
So what is okay to you or not okay to you might be okay to others.
Yep.
And unless you communicate effectively or have them sign a document that says, I won't do X, Y, and Z, they might smoke in your company vehicle. They might drink in their company uniform off the clock, but they're still wearing your logo.
Yep.
But you might not have ever communicated, like, when you're off the clock, out of your uniform, because what you do in your off time, I don't want it to negatively impact. Or a lot of things that I'm seeing right now is social media policies.
Yes.
We're in the thick of it with government changes.
Yep.
But if I'm a representative LP Consulting and I go on the internet and I'm like, I hate
whatever.
Democrats, I hate Republicans, I hate this person, I hate that, I hate all of it. A lot of people, unfortunately, can screenshot that and send that to your employer now.
Mm-hmm.
And you're seeing people lose their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing people lose their jobs because they voiced, and I hear you, I support you on the first speech, like freedom of speech, but freedom of speech when you're attached to a company, it's a little bit
totally
different now. And
totally different.
There's a lot of people who unfortunately spend a lot of time screenshotting and sending to these employers just for the sheer fact of getting people in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have a policy that says you can't get on there and do X, Y, and Z, you don't really have anything to hold them accountable other than, you can still get rid of them. At least my state's an at-will state, but it's going to be a lot harder to fight that unemployment claim. It's going to be a lot harder to fight these things because you never told them, hey, we don't get on here and say X, Y, and Z. Or if you want to do that, we can't have you at the top say an employee of X, Y, and Z company. Like, set those rules and think about those boundaries before you need a PR person to get you out of trouble.
Yep. Can you share more about the challenge you're inviting our listeners to join, and how can they get involved?
Yes. So I am doing a organized to optimize challenge. And so there'll be a little bit more release of that. I'm super excited, but it's going to be basically kind of a run through of things that I like to audit that I feel other people might not think of, like the social media SOPs. But we're going to have a list of SOPs, some things to outline, and really try to navigate some of these business challenges, these small business challenges that are, you don't know you're going to have them until you have them. So let's get ahead of it. Let's make sure your legalities are set up. Let's make sure you've done an insurance and review in the last, I don't know, you've been open for 20 years and you've never looked at your insurance plan or something to that effect. Let's get those checklists and those things in line before you realize that there's a dumpster fire that you need to dig out of. So that will also be highlighted on my Instagram. which I'm
Yeah,
sure we'll give a
I
little
was
bit of
gonna
details about that later. But yeah.
I was going to do
Yeah.
that now. So, Lindsay, this conversation has been eye-opening and so needed. You've given us real actionable strategies to not only run our business smarter, but also protect our mental health in the process. Where can our listeners connect with you and how can they join your challenge?
Yes. So I hang out on Instagram primarily. So I am Linds, Linds .Paulson, Paulson. So once this is ready to go, launched out into the world, it'll be on my page, it'll be on my story. All the links will be there. And I hope to see people come in and kind of be able to work through and figure out what works best for them. And let's dig you out of the trenches before
Yes.
you're in the trenches.
Yes. Ladies, if this conversation resonated with you, don't just listen, take action. Join Lindsay's challenge and start implementing what we talked about today. Tag a friend who needs to hear this, and don't forget to check out Lindsay's episode on the Empowered and Unapologetic podcast. Lindsay, thank you so much again. And I'm glad we survived the potential tornado.
Yes,
It's
I
enough.
said on record, I said if my windows or something crazy happen, just run the film, roll the tape, like get the views. I support it. Roll the tape.
Thank you, Lindsay. Raise your hand if you are ready to level up your marriage for 2023. Do you find that you're spending your time together with your husband checked out and in front of the TV? I know you're ready for tangible strategies that actually get you results. Reignite the spark in your marriage, have fun, and grow together. Well, I hope you have your hand raised at this minute because I have something special for you. I'm introducing my brand new 6-question marriage predictor quiz that's gonna give you personalized results to catapult you into the next stage of your marriage journey. That means you'll receive the results to where your marriage can get the best help. If you've got just 1 minute, head to veronicacisneros.org/quiz. Again, that's veronicacisneros.org/quiz, and you could take my brand new quiz, Marriage Predictor. Get your results delivered right to your email address. Again, that's veronicacisneros.org/quiz, veronicacisneros.org/quiz. What's up, ladies? Just want to let you guys know that your ratings and reviews for this podcast are greatly appreciated. If you love this podcast, please go to iTunes right now, write a review, rate the episode, and subscribe. Don't forget to share it with your friends.